Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game that comes as a suggestion from quite a few subscribers. It's RZA versus Lex Fridman. Now you guys are probably thinking, oh, it's 1st of April, he's just tricking us again, this game never really happened, or who knows why he's showing this game. And yes, I deserve that, as I've tricked you pretty severely the last time, but no, this is not such a video. It'd be hard to make a video now on the 1st of April regardless of what I do, since you guys will be thinking I'm just tricking you, but this is an actual game. So RZA was a guest on the Lex Fridman podcast last year in October, and they played a game throughout the entire podcast, and it's a quite a lovely game. Features a very cool opening, features the King's Gambit, and well, I will just show it because it's really nice. But also, if you guys want to check out the entire podcast, I will put a link to it in the description below. And also, there is a video of just the game that was played. It's some 15 minutes long, so you guys are welcome to check that out as well, as then you can enjoy commentary by both RZA and Lex themselves. So that being said, let's check out the game. And if you're wondering what you could expect in such a podcast, well, there's really everything in there. There's stuff from life and death, there's kung fu, there's Bruce Lee, there's artificial intelligence, there is even quite a large portion of the podcast is dedicated to chess. So there's really a lot to enjoy. If you have some 3 hours to spare, the links are in the description below. Now let's check out what happened in the actual game. So RZA has the white pieces and he opens with e4. Sorry about that. Lex replies with e5, very solid, and RZA goes for the very aggressive King's Gambit. He plays f4, and Lex does not accept the Gambit. He plays d6. He's probably thinking, okay, RZA plays the King's Gambit, I'm pretty sure he knows all the theory on the King's Gambit accepted, let's surprise him and decline the Gambit. So here, knight to f3, a continuing development, and knight to c6. Lex does the same, we have bishop to c4. White's plan is very direct. He played f4, he played the King's Gambit, the f-file will open up at some point, and he will have immense pressure over the f7 pawn. It is the weakest pawn in Black's camp. The rook will come to f1, probably by castling, then we're going to put more pressure on the f7 pawn, and so on. So these are very standard ideas, and Lex will, of course, try everything to prevent this. He develops the bishop to g4, a natural developing square, as the knight is now pinned and cannot move, and here RZA just castles. Now Lex plays bishop captures on f3, and here, if you really wanted to make it a sharp game, you could actually accept the Gambit now, and after White grabs the full center, play this g5 idea. You guys of course know this, as we've covered so many King's Gambit games during the Paul Morphy saga, and even nowadays g5 is a key move in defending against the King's Gambit. But Lex goes for bishop captures on f3 instead. Queen captures on f3, and now you can see that there is a whole lot of pressure aimed towards that f7 square. Now Lex plays knight to d4, and yes, Lex is neglecting development a little bit here, but it comes with a certain threat, so it's justified. He's attacking the queen, and also if the queen moves to a weird square, the knight captures on c2 will win the rook on a1. So RZA goes back here. If again he wanted, he could give up the rook with a move like queen to g3, but this would be maybe too much. So queen back to d1, and only now e captures on f4. Probably going for, if White now plays d3 with the idea of capturing on f4 with the bishop, then Lex would defend the pawn with the g5. So RZA doesn't allow him that. He plays rook captures on f4 right away, and now what do you do? The f7 pawn is hanging, so obviously we should defend this with a move like knight to f6, but Lex wants to get pieces into the game. He wants to develop rapidly, and he doesn't care about king's safety. He plays queen to g5, and now now things get very interesting, as the f7 pawn can just be captured. So bishop captures on f7 with check. We have king to d8, and now pawn to d3. We have to defend the rook, and best way to defend it is by playing d3. Now we are not just defending the rook, but also we are threatening a lot of nasty discoveries. When the rook moves, the queen will be hanging here. So knight to f6. Here Lex says, you don't have any good discoveries, whatever you play, I can just move the queen. There really isn't a good discovery here, and he is correct in that regard. So knight to c3. RZA just continues developing, and now Lex goes full attacking mode with the d5. Here, maybe a safer approach would be something like c6. We put a king on c7, try and bring the rook into the game somehow. But Lex plays d5, and again, this is a very, very aggressive idea. He wants to bring the bishop to c5 and then threaten some very nasty discoveries with the king still being on g1. And okay, knight captures on d5. RZA says, go ahead, do your thing. We have bishop to c5, now threatening a lot of nasty discoveries. And here, this is a critical moment, and in fact, the black's position is not as steady as you might think, even though black has so many pieces out, but it's very, very complicated. So here, bishop to e3 was played. RZA was too worried about these discoveries, but if you just wanted to play this out, rook captures on f6 should win the game for white, because now, as you might have imagined, there are no good discoveries, but it's quite a lot to calculate. Imagine knight to e2, allowing a double check from the knight and the bishop. The king will have to move. King h1, now knight captures on g3 with check, for example. And now you have to see all of this and see that after h captures on g3, the bishop covers g1, so the king cannot escape. And if you had one more check, it would be checkmate. Luckily, white is defending all of the 3 squares, so you cannot deliver checkmate here. So if you try and solve all of this out, you will play a move like rook captures on f6, but RZA plays the bishop to e3, and now Lex is back in the game. He plays knight captures on d5, we have bishop captures on d5, and now comes a move that, completely blows up the game. Here, with knight to e6, you are sort of back in the game. If you play knight to e6, you are threatening to pick up the bishop with check, you are attacking the rook here twice, and there really isn't all that much you can do. If you try to win the black queen with something like rook to f8 check, the joke would be on you, because after black happily accepts the rook, you can't capture the queen, the bishop cannot move. The bishop is immobilized by the other dark square bishop on c5. So your best bet after knight to e6 would be something like d4, blocking the dark square bishop, and now we're gonna have something like knight captures on f4, and after bishop captures on f4, queen captures, d captures on c5, and this is the position you would get where black would be up material. It would be 2 rooks against a bishop and a rook. However, the black king still needs quite a few moves to get to safety, and it would be a pretty crazy game. So a move with the knight back is the correct way to go, and you guys know that in most of the times in complicated positions, a move with the knight back is the correct move. However, here Lex goes forward, he plays knight captures on c2, and it's a similar idea, attacking the rook, attacking the bishop twice. Now if the bishop moves, we're attacking the rook, so it's a complete mess of a position, and Lex is completely winning here unless RZA finds one move that wins the game for him. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find this move for RZA while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on not playing something weird like capturing the knight here or capturing something else. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move is bishop captures on c5. This is the only move that wins the game. To show you what happens if you play something else like queen captures on c2, well then we just pick up the bishop on e3 with check, and that's it. Once the rook moves, because you don't want to give it up for free, we're going to play rook to f8, pile up on this rook, and that's it. Here, white will just resign. So here RZA played the absolute best, bishop captures on c5, and now both of his rooks are on free. You can capture either of them, but well, it's not all that simple. If you capture the f4 rook, we're just going to play queen captures on c2, and now here RZA would have 2 bishops for a rook that's yet to be developed. It's not a pretty sight to look at. So instead, after bishop captures on c1, knight captures on a1 is played by Lex, and now just the bishop back to e3. Our rook on f4 is still hanging, so bishop to e3. Now we are threatening a lot of nasty discoveries, and there really is no safe square for Lex's queen to go to. Wherever you put the queen, we're just gonna play rook to f8 check, and that's pretty much it. Or rather, okay, if you move the queen from here, you might be able to save it. But let's say you try queen to e7, still just rook to f7. There's too many squares are now controlled by white. After we move the queen, we're going to play something like queen captures on a1, also bishop to g5 check, and there's just, I mean, it's just game over. So instead, after bishop to e3, king to d7 was played by Lex, trying to avoid this, and well, he also mentioned during the video that putting the king in a center this way could be a little bit dangerous, but now, of course, we just go for the discovery. Rook to f7 check, king to d8, and now bishop captures on g5 with check. King to e8, rook to e7 check, and he was in this position on move 19 that Lex Fridman resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So if you go king d8, then, well, so many moves win, but just queen g4 delivers checkmate on d7. There's no way to defend this. And if you go here, then even a nice queen to f1 is checkmate. That's all there is. So yeah, a wonderful game from a very interesting podcast. Like I said, if you guys have a lot of time, check out the entire podcast in the description below. If you only have time to check out a game with their commentary, it will be the second link in the description below. So it's like some 15 minutes long, and you can see that RZA is very much into chess. He if you watch the podcast, he enjoys talking about chess quite a lot, and both of them played a really nice game. Lex mentioned that he did not play a lot, like in the past 25 years he played maybe 5 games, but you can see that the understanding of the position is still there. He was very much into chess when he was young. Then he just stopped playing because he says it was too addictive. It took up too much of his time, and if he wanted to do anything else in life, he would have to quit chess. So he did, so he could focus on other things. But you can see that the positional side is still there that he acquired when he was very young. So yeah, a very interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm not trying to trick you or anything, just because it's April's Fool's Day. Hope you really enjoyed this one. I would like to thank Adam Tomchak, Ferdi, OpenSea Smoky Dule, and Richard McKevin for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of everything else that's happening in the chess world and checking up your suggestions such as this one. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And yeah, I know what you guys are saying. How did Lex lose this? I mean, we all know that he's a robot. He should have just obliterated RZA. It's a chess game. But you also guys know that the first sentient life form that will be able to pass the Turing test will fail it on purpose. I'm just putting that out there. So yeah, really hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.